Welcome to the Rise Up For You podcast, where thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and executives from around the world share their practical tips, strategies, and stories to help you unleash your potential and achieve your goals. Your journey of growth to become your best starts now.
Hey, welcome back to the Rise Up For You podcast. Before we jump in, if you haven't already, wherever you're listening to this podcast or watching it, if you're watching it on YouTube, give us a subscribe, give us a like. We have no advertisement or sponsorship on this show. All we ask is that you subscribe to our content, you like it, and you share it with your friends and your family. We're all about building community and sharing our content here at Rise Up For You. All right, are you ready? Let's jump into today's episode with yet again another amazing guest. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Rise Up For You podcast. This is your host, Netalina Nasruddin. Such an honor to be here with you this week and to bring yet again another amazing guest, Dan Brisse. Did I say that your last name right?
Yeah, Dan Brisse, just like it's windy outside.
Oh, Dan Brisse. Well, that's very appropriate for the industry you started in snowboarding.
Yep.
So I gave a little bit away about, what Dan formerly did. But Dan, if you could tell our audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, share a little bit about your journey, and then we'll jump in.
Yeah, you bet. So I grew up in central Minnesota with this childhood dream of trying to be a professional snowboarder, and got a lot of negative feedback growing up there saying good luck with that, or how are you going to do that, and kind of fueled the fire to push hard to try to make that dream become a reality. So when I graduated from high school, I moved to Salt Lake City. I thought I would turn pro within, a year or so, and realized that I had a lot further to go than I thought. And so worked night jobs and snowboarded every day. Finally, after 3 or 4 years, one of my friends said, "Hey, you should go to the Aspen Open. It's in Aspen, Colorado." I was living in Salt Lake City, and he drove me to Aspen, paid for me to get in the contest because I was living paycheck to paycheck, working, night jobs at TGI Fridays and Payway and Red Lobster. And he paid for me to get in the contest. There were 250 kids there. It was an open. There were it's like $250 to get in, and it ended up getting to finals. And then the next day at finals, I won the contest. And that was kind of the beginning of my snowboarding career, where brands took note and actually decided that, hey, let's give this guy a shot, and start having him travel to professional contests, and ended up having a 15-year run as a professional snowboarder. So it's kind of a dream come true after a long 10-year grind of a lot of setbacks.
Yeah, that's incredible. And tell us a little bit, how did you transition? Why did you transition? Tell us more about, what you're doing today in the industry that you're in today. And I want to talk a little bit about how you transitioned, and then more about your industry.
Yeah, for sure. So as a snowboarder, the reality is it's a short-lived career, and the writing's on the wall that it's not going to last forever. And although I was making pretty decent money, I was scared, and I could see that it was going to end. So I'm trying to figure out, what am I going to do to have passion and that kind of freedom and still make good money? And so I started reading everything I could about money. It was an interesting thing. I never knew about it much growing up, but it was very interesting to me. And so I started getting all the books I could on finding ways to get tax savings through depreciation. And because, coming out of Minnesota, you're not making any money. All of a sudden, as a snowboarder, they're taking 40% of your paycheck, and it's like a gut check. You're like, I just sacrificed the last 10 years of my life to become this athlete, and you start making decent money, and half of it's being taken. So that was the beginning of getting into real estate investing. And I hired a CPA firm out of Arizona, and that CPA firm said, yeah, if you can buy multifamily property and you can qualify as a real estate professional with your wife, there's some good tax savings there. And I was looking for multiple streams of income. I wanted passive income, just many different streams of income flowing in no matter what I was doing. So that was really the goal. And the reason I got into multifamily and still am into apartment investing is just cash flow and depreciation.
So tell us a little bit, because I hear you talking, and honestly, and I think you can agree that the majority of individuals, I would say, are in this place where they feel stuck, right? They're doing something great, but I would say many individuals want passive income, right? Or they want to go into an industry that maybe they're very unfamiliar with and they don't know how. So they stay exactly where they are. How do you make that transition, or how did you make that transition? And anybody that's listening, how scary is it really? I mean, I'm just starting to get into this space as well. And I would say more low risk. I don't have a family. I don't have kids. I can jump and do these, different things. But what I hear you saying is that there's a whole world out there of possibility, especially when it comes to investing and passive income. But it can be very scary to just even jump and start.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, that's a good question. Anyone can do this. Like I'm not an elite in any way, shape, or form with numbers and finances. I mean, it's just really persistence. But what I would do if you're stuck, you got to get control of your finances. You got to have a position where you're bringing more money in every month than you're spending. That's step one. I call it seed money. You're making some cash. You're getting your income coming in, and you're putting it away in a savings account to invest. And if you're not in that position, you got to look at your spending habits and just have a real good look at yourself and say, hey, why is it that, let's just say I'm making 150 a year, I'm spending 150 a year or more, I'm spending 175 and I'm going in the hole. So those changes need to be made internally. You got to come up with a why of, hey, what's my long-term goal here? Am I trying to be working this job till I'm 65 or 70 or whatever it may be, and then thinking about it? Or do I want to try to create streams of income? Because the way you're creating streams of income is you're putting your money to work. You create income, you save some, and you put it into an investment to pay you more money. And that money you save up, that seed money, becomes the goose that, gives the golden egg. So the goose, you can't spend the goose. You got to get the goose invested and then let the goose produce, and you live off the passive income money. Does that make sense?
It does. But it's interesting because as you were talking, I was just thinking, my brothers and I, we were, here for the holiday, and we were talking about savings.
Yeah.
And I told my brother, who's a CEO, I said, the average person, majority of Americans have less than $1,000 in their savings account. So God forbid if there was an emergency and it cost them more than $1,000, most individuals wouldn't be able to pay. And he's like, that's not true. And I'm like, look it up. So we looked it up and we found that actually the majority of people have less than $1,000 in their savings, less than 500 in their savings. And the generation that has 10,000 or more in their savings is 65 and above.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing you talk and I totally agree with you. And I absolutely believe that that's the right track to go. And at the same time, most individuals, they don't understand that financial game of how to use their money as a tool per se. So what would you say realistically? I'm going to ask you some finite questions that I think anyone that's wanting to step into this, and then I want to know how you did it. What would you say realistically they need to bring to the table? Would you say hey, if you want to get in this game, you need to have 50K saved. You need to have 100K saved, 20, not even, maybe 20. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. There's two avenues. You can go the avenue of education, and
Okay.
which is really great. You're like, hey, you know what? I want to learn this business at a deep enough level where I can be the one putting these deals together. So that's one avenue, and that avenue is fantastic. But if you're in a career and you've got something you're passionate about and you're making good money there already, now you budget and figure out how to put some of that money away. Try to get 50K chunks. 50K, it sounds like a lot to some people, but gosh, when you start just chipping away, if you got an extra part-time job and you pulled an extra 1,000 or 1,500 a month, or worked really hard and got an extra $2,000 a month, and you put that away, I mean, what are you talking? A couple years and you're at a 50K chunk. So it's possible. I work with a lot of athletes that they don't make big money, but I just say, hey, what you're making right now, live on it like you're broke. And a lot of these guys are like, well, no, I'm here, I've made it. And I'm like, no, you haven't made it. You haven't made it at all. You're just now getting your seed money. That's step one. Now you got to put it away. So delaying gratification is something that I just don't think is talked about enough and is understood enough. That ideally, I mean, when I was in my snowboarding career, I was living on about 15-20% of my income, and I was putting the rest away. So people were like, yeah, Dan's not doing that well. But they didn't understand behind the scenes what was going on is you're hoarding it and then investing it and living off of what was left. So those are the two options. You get educated and you go out and become that person, and you start to learn the business and you start to build a team. And there's a lot of elbow grease there. I'm not going to lie. You're going to work. It's a job, which is great, or you are in a position where you adjust your budget, your income and expenses, and you start stacking it away, and you invest with somebody who's a professional doing what they do with a track record of, 10 plus years in the business.
I like the delayed gratification part, because you're right. you pull things back for a year or two, in no time you'll have what you need. And then in a year or two from that, you'll have a completely different lifestyle. When I want to talk about the second track, what does that look like? So let's say an individual says, yep, I got my seed money. I've saved, 50K plus. Now what?
Yeah. Once you've got to that, you're at that position. Great job in, putting some discipline in place. Now it's your job to make sure you get with the right people that have a track record of success and you understand the investment. So you're going to want to do a little bit of high level study, and you're going to want to get to know the people who are doing these deals. I mean, you can get to know us, no problem. Reach out to us at granitetowersequitygroup.com. You go to contact us, you can talk to us and get to know us. We have a podcast called Keeping It Real Estate. There's a lot of folks, and you can get referrals from us. I know 3, 4, 5 other syndicators who I put my money with. So you get those kind of connections. And now you can say, okay, let me see your track record. Let me see how your deals have gone full cycle. Let me see what kind of returns you've created. Where are we in the real estate cycle? And do I have 50 grand I'm ready to go with on a deal? And that's really the process of it is, meeting people like us, you do have to get out and look. We're not marketing to the public at Granite Towers. We have just real relationships with people who we've gotten to know just like this over podcasts or on stages or wherever we go. We end up meeting people who are looking to put their idle cash to work. So the process would be being on podcasts, get on real estate podcasts. They're great places, platforms for education and further education. You can meet a lot of syndicators or people who are doing this in the business, but your job far and away is to make dang sure you get to know, like, and trust that person leading the deal, because that's the most important piece you're going to make, that decision you're going to make.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Tell us a little bit about your company. So after being a pro snowboarder, you co-founded Granite Towers Equity Group Partner. Tell us a little bit about it. What are you doing on a daily basis? How often do you take in, investors when somebody comes? Like, do you have a vetting process? I'd love to learn a little bit more about the business structure there.
Yeah, so Granite Towers Equity Group is owned between my business partner who I've known since I was a child and myself. We're co-partners in the company, and we buy 3 to 5 deals a year. They're located in Dallas and Nashville. The equity raises on these deals are anywhere between $5 million and $16 million. We're actually doing an equity raise on a deal. This one's not available to the public right now. We'd have to get to know you for a future deal, but that raise is happening right now before year-end close. But next year we're looking to buy 3 to 5 deals. They're 100 to 400 unit apartments. They're a value add play. So we're going to bring money into the deal after we close to upgrade the interior of the asset, upgrade the exterior of the asset. We're going to do different value add plays based on what the competitors are doing to be able to be the nicest little asset in that submarket. At the end of the day, we're trying to attract the best residents in the submarket to help the value of our asset go up. That's all you're doing. It's not rocket science. So the minimum investment is usually $60,000, $50,000 to $60,000. The average hold time is a 5-year hold. So you're going to put your money in and plan on not having it back for 5 years. Again, this is your seed money to make it grow. It's the golden goose goes into the asset and pays you, and it gets cash flow distributions on a monthly or quarterly basis. And the cash flow comes out based on the performance of the deal. You're going to see the financials, the trailing 12 months, which is the income and expenses for the last 12 months. You can dig into it if you want. You'll see the rent roll. You'll get an update from us every month on the 1st of the month on your deal of what we did, what's working, what challenges we're going through, what changes we're making. And you're along for the ride. You're a passive investor. If you got questions, you can call and email, but there's nothing to do other than, hey, decide I like to be in this investment. Here's the funds. Show me the return. That's really it.
And you said after about 5 years is when they start to get their money back.
No, so you're going to get paid 2 ways. You're going to get paid through cash flow distributions, which is on a quarterly basis. That starts usually 6 months after.
And that's from the rent and everybody that's moving in and that kind of stuff.
That's correct. Based off of income minus your expenses, what money's left over, it's called cash flow. It gets distributed back to the partners, the investors. At a percentage. And then when you either refinance or sell, then you'll get a big pop when you exit the deal, which is your initial capital back plus, extra.
Best based off the equity and hopefully the property increasing and so on and so forth.
That's correct. That's exactly it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for breaking that down, because again, many individuals have no idea. They don't have no idea, right? So these questions that I'm asking, they might seem incredibly basic. but the audience listening might say, that's how it works. Okay, well, let me see, how I can start creating some passivity and other income. Listen, we're going into 2024. I can't think of, we all need to be investing in multiple areas now in today's world. We no longer live in a place where we could just have one stream of income. So I think this conversation is very enlightening, even for myself. Right now, I'm investing in, single residence, just homes throughout Vegas. But I'm like, I'm very interested in this aspect as well. So it's even very enlightening for me. Is there anything? Yeah, go ahead. I just wanted to see if there's anything else that you wanted to share or add.
Yeah, I would just say the most important thing is do not rush. Don't rush into deals. Get to know the general partners at a deeper level. And if you don't know them and you don't trust them, ask for more data until you do. You can ask for financial statements of previous deals that they own. Like, show me your income statements on some of your most recent deals. And if they're not an open book, I would be hesitant to jump in, because you're becoming a partner with these folks. They're the one guiding the ship and directing it, but you are a partner. You're an owner in that business with them, and you just have to be certain you feel really great about who you're investing with. And then again, don't rush. It'll always be another deal coming. There's a tactic of you got to invest now or it's not going to happen. That's totally not accurate. There will be another deal, and there will be another deal, and there's plenty of time.
Fantastic. I love that, Dan. Thank you for sharing that. I'd love to jump into the power section of the interview and ask you some rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
So first question is, if you were to leave this world with one final message, we call it our golden nugget. What would your golden nugget be?
I would say just do what you love. Chase what makes you happy, and you'll bring a lot of good to the world.
Yeah. And here at Rise Up For You, we're very big on values. They're non-negotiables for us. So what's a non-negotiable value for you?
Just integrity. If you say you're going to do something, do it. And if you can't, immediately let that person know that, hey, I can't make that happen anymore. Here's what's changed. And just make your word law in life.
Yeah, I love that. And I have one more question for you. But before I ask you, where can we find you? How can we connect? If anyone's interested, you have the podcast, that there's a lot of different avenues for you.
Yeah. I would just go to granitetowersequitygroup.com, contact us. And there's a little form there. There's 3-4 questions we'll ask of you, your email. And if you want to hop on a call, happy to do that.
Great. We'll put it all in the show notes as well. And this has been great. Thank you so much. Final question for you is, as you know, we're the organization and company podcast Rise Up For You. What comes to mind for you when you hear that phrase?
Man, just making people more powerful in knowledge and wealth, it sounds like. To add to the listeners too, if they want, we have a free book that we're happy to give away called The 4 Steps to Successful Passive Investing. So if you want to learn more about how to invest passively, that's also available. Contact us and we'll get you that free book.
Beautiful. Yeah. And we'll add that in the show notes as well. We're all about education here and empowerment. And so I think that's fantastic. Dan, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an honor to have you here on the podcast this week.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. And thank you everyone for joining us today again on the Rise Up For You podcast. Again, always bringing you amazing experts, executives, entrepreneurs, thought leaders from around the world to help you and your organization be your absolute best, not just as a professional, but also as the person. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Imagine a life where you can have it all: a booming career, fantastic love life, great health and success, and overall achievement and happiness. Imagine pushing your potential to your absolute best and every day living a life that you are proud of. Well, if this sounds like something that you're yearning for, then the Rise Up For You Growth membership is perfect for you. My team and I believe in supporting you and helping you get to the next level, because we know that you can do and have what it takes to be your best. When you join our membership, you get access to live trainings every single month with myself and our team. You get free coaching. You get a number of on-demand resources to help level up your success that you can use in the comfort of your own home. And you get access to our global membership around the world, full of like-minded professionals that are looking to be their best. Your time is now to push your potential and live the life that you want to live. So if you're ready to take the next step in your life and in your career, join the Rise Up For You Growth membership. Click below and we'll see you there.